Hello everyone, my name is Nitika and today we will begin with an introduction to cat reading comprehension. So let's quickly begin. Now today's class is the very first class to the beginning of a capsule course that I'm starting. So the course name is Capsule Course on Cat RC. So, for all of you who are planning to go for CAT 2021 or even for CAT 2022, this course will prove to be very beneficial because this course will not only help you guys to understand what exactly turns up on the reading comprehension section, but also to understand how to strategize and streamline your preparation in a manner where you are easily able to score a perfect 99 percentile. So let's begin the today's class. I'll begin with an introduction of myself. So I have done my graduation and post graduation both in literature background. I have more than 9 years of teaching experience. I have trained students all over India for various entrance exams such as management entrance exams, for example, CAT, ZAT, GMAT, NMAT, IEFT, and other management exams. Now I am a 99 percentiler on the ZAT examination. I'm also the author of application learning module of aptitude learning. So you can find it easily on Amazon as well. Now, let's try to see how can you guys find me. You guys can easily find me. You have to download the Unacademy learning app. All of you are pretty tech savvy. I really don't think that I have to tell you guys how to download a particular app, but still, you guys can easily go to any Play Store, be it Google Play Store or your Apple Store, and you will easily be able to get the Unacademy learning app over there. You have to install the app, and after that you have to put cat as your goal or as your plus course, so that easily you are able to see the various courses which are available pertaining to the cat preparation. In those cat courses you will find me, and you have to just get a subscription to access all the plus classes which are available. There are many benefits that an Unacademy plus subscription entails. You will be able to see how those benefits are really going to help you in streamlining your preparation. Now, there are various plans offered when it comes to CAT subscription. You will find a 1 month plan, 3 month plan, 6 month plan, 12-month plan, and even a 24-month plan. The most lucrative one for those who are preparing for 2021, you will see the most lucrative one would be a 12-month plan, which will give you not only the classes for an entire year, but also doubt clearing sessions, proper interaction with your faculties, and live quizzes and mocks and much more than that. In order to get a 10% discount, you guys can use my referral code. My referral code is Nitika, Nitika 10, and you will get a 10% waiver of your fees, and which is a great discount. I'm sure we all love to get discount here and there, and it's Christmas season, so definitely I come bearing gifts. So you guys must go for the subscription. Other than that, now let's begin with our today's class. Now, guys, all of you are aware when we talk about the CAD examination, we know that there are three main components of the CAD exam. There is verbal ability section, there is quantitative aptitude, and then there is logical reasoning and data interpretation section. So we have what? We have like 100 questions on the exam. Out of these 100 questions, they are divided into three parts, for example, 34, 34, and 32. When it comes to the examination, what we need to remember is, I in the morning also, so I had this class on orientation of the CAT examination, where I had explained you guys exactly what all turns up on the paper, what should be the basic strategies that you guys need to apply. We also discussed certain do's and don'ts which when it comes down to the CAT examination, and much more was discussed over there. Also, I was telling you guys how not only do we have to focus on the areas we are weaker at, instead we must focus on the areas that we are good at, because we will always remember when it comes to the CAT examination, it should be always accuracy over attempt. We will not blindly go about attempting any questions or passages just because we need to go about marking answers, because there is a lot of negative marking on the examination. We really cannot afford to lose marks. So what we really need to focus on is the accuracy part, so that we are able to get a good deal of marks and we are able to score a good deal of marks on the examination and get to our target of 99%, right? So now when it comes down to VARC section, now you guys are all aware, in the VARC section, out of 34 questions, 24 questions are plainly what? They are your reading comprehension. So until and unless you guys are very well versed with the concepts of reading comprehension, you won't be able to ace at the examination. So you guys have to be very careful, you guys have to be very well prepared in order to make sure that you are able to get the desired attempt, you are able to get the desired score, and your entire preparation is in line with what is expected out of you. So now that there are 24 questions out of 34 of reading comprehension, that really leaves us with no choice whatsoever. That means we really need to work on the RC section in order to ace at the examination. Now, when it comes down to reading comprehension, we all have certain inaccuracies or some insecurities and some problems with reading comprehension that we already have and we have been facing since childhood. And then most of the students usually face them once they are going about the CAT examination. Just like I told you guys a while ago that it has been good, what, 9+ years training students for the CAT examination. So I have come across so many students complaining that, ma'am, there are some problems with the reading comprehension that we face that makes it very difficult for us to go about it. So what are these problems? Let's try to see what are these issues that CAT aspirants face. Number one problem that most of the aspirants face while going about the CAT examination RCs is that the passages are very time consuming. Now, why are they time consuming, ma'am? That eat up a lot of time. You have to read the passage, you have to go to the questions, you have to mark the correct answer, you have to eliminate the incorrect answer choices as well. So it becomes very tricky for us to go about all these five passages on the examination in the given time, and then also look at VA section, and then streamline our entire strategize our entire paper in a manner where we are able to timely work at things. So it gets very difficult for the students. And then there is a problem that I have come across many a times, that students face a problem with underlining. Now these students are you guys are always because you all are a bit old school and you have learned since your childhood in a paper based format, so you are used to reading your passages in a manner where they were on the paper and you were underlining important areas, and then you guys used to go back to the questions and mark the correct answers. I hope you guys would agree with me. So when it comes down to the passages, it becomes very difficult on the CAT examination because the paper is on screen, it is online. So it gets difficult for students to adapt to reading passages online and without underlining the important areas come down to the answers. So it becomes very difficult for the students. Other than that, the other one problem that I have come across the students complaining about is interest. So, are you guys aware what kind of passages actually turn up on the examination? So, there are going to be passages on, let's say, 16th century Victorian age. उसमें कैसे writing styles practice किए जाते थे. There will be passages on psychology talking about psychoanalytical theories. There is a work by Sigmund Freud known as Theory of Interpretation of Dreams. It has appeared on the CAT examination more than 12 times. Different transcripts have been taken from it and they have turned up on the examination more than 12 times. So, passages like such, you will get passages on totalitarianism and other political philosophical movements which were there, and how Nazis did not want any of the Germans to, Jews to survive in Germany, and how all it was going on, and how Animal Farm is not just it's a satire, political satire on Russian band of socialism, how it is a satire on their autocratic regime, how they were turning into an autocratic regime where common people had no rights whatsoever. So you'll get a passage on that. You'll get a passage on dark ages, something to do with science and technology. You could get a passage from arts, how abstract art and representational art are completely different. So, guys, for you guys, if you feel that you're a soccer fan, you'll get a passage on how Manchester United, formed and what was the history and things like that. And if you're a shopaholic, you're gonna get how a passage on Louis Vuitton's entire history, how they end up making their luxurious branded bags, and how they end up discarding them if they will never put it on sale and things like that. So that's not gonna happen. Let me clear it off to you in the very beginning. So, whatever you expect is your interest is not going to turn up on the examination. You will have to accept the passages as they come. Now, if I talk about these three problems, I'm sure you guys must be relating with all the students who have over the years told me, ma'am, these are the three problems that we face when it comes down to the reading comprehension passages. I'm sure you must be able to relate with at least one or two of these. So, what if I tell you guys that these problems that I've listed over here are nothing but they are what? They are myths. So what are they? They are nothing but myths. So why am I calling them myths? Because I do not consider them to be true. I do not consider them to be a real problem. So let me make it very clear to you guys from the very beginning that how your passages aren't time consuming. It's a myth. There isn't supposed to be a problem with underlining. There isn't problem supposed to be a problem with inference interest. So I will just explain it to you guys how. So why do one by one, let's discuss the issue of passages becoming time consuming. Now most of the students still practice passages in the way that they have been doing it in from the school level. So for example, you guys used to get passages in section A of your English examination. So over there they used to be unseen passages, if you guys would remember. And most of the students come to me and tell me, मैम हम तो आज भी passages वैसे ही करते हैं जैसे मैम ने सिखाया था स्कूल में, and we were told that we have to always read the question first and then move on to the passage. So this was a small trick or technique कह लो या जो भी. This is how the students were taught how to go about the passages in the school level. Now, trust me, guys, this could work probably because in the school level, or let me show you how it's not gonna work now. Why? Because let's say you read the questions. आपने पहले questions पढ़ लिए. Now, what's gonna happen when you read the questions? Will you remember all the questions, all the options which have been given over there? No, you're not gonna remember all that. So, what a maximum you're gonna remember is for the very first question, right? So now that you remember the very first question, tell me honestly, guys, will you be reading the passage or you will just be looking for answer number one? You will spot a few keywords from the very first question, and now what you will do is you will go back to the passage and you will try to find your first answer. So the moment you try to look, let's say आपको कहीं answer मिल भी गया. Now you will go back here, try to eliminate a few options, come back here and mark the correct answer. Now, do you remember what was the second question? No. Why? Because passage तो मैंने पढ़ा ही नहीं. I obviously do not remember the second question. I will come back to the second question, read it, come back to the first passage. Now, the passage, again, passage I haven't read altogether because I was busy looking for answer number one. I will again look, I will again go about scanning. Let's say I found the answer somewhere and then I have marked it. Now, I'll go back again, I'll look at the third question, come back here again, try to find it. Passage I haven't read, so I don't know where is what. Now again I've marked the answer, coming back here. Are you seeing what is happening, guys? Any idea what is happening? We are going back and forth. Now this going back and forth again and again is what is wasting your time. This is what is leading to the passages becoming time consuming, right? If I had to give it a technical term, you guys are applying the skill of scanning. So what you're doing is you're reading a question, you're moving back to the passage, you're trying to find the particular answer, and then coming back looking for the question, and then coming back to the passage looking for the answer. This is what you're doing. It's the worst technique to apply on the CAD examination. Had it been some other exam, I would have said probably where, scanning could have worked. But right now, scanning is not going to work. Why? Because on the CAD exam, we expect you to apply the technique of skimming. Just in a minute, I will tell you what is skimming. What if I tell you guys, ये पहले क्वेश्चन पढ़ के कुछ वैसे भी नहीं होने वाला. Why? Because even if you read the question first, आपको दूर दूर तक passage में कहीं इससे related answer मिलेगा भी नहीं. You might not even find the similar keywords that have been used in the question. Now you might be wondering why. Why is that so? That did not used to be the case when earlier you used to go about the passages. Because guys, earlier you were going about school level passages. Now you're going for very high level cat passages, which usually come from moderate to high level of difficulty. And the kind of questions which are asked on the examination on cat passages are completely different from what you have attempted for till now. So you will be asked what? You will be asked inference based questions. Any idea what do we mean by inference based questions? Any clue? What do we mean by inferences? Now, inferences are nothing but these are more or less hidden in the passage. They are never explicitly stated in the passage. Okay, so they are not stated in the passage, they are not mentioned in the passage. कहीं दूर दूर तक mention नहीं है, कहीं दूर दूर तक लिखी नहीं गई है, and you're getting a passage on that. So how are you supposed to mark an answer of such a question which is nowhere written in the passage by looking at the question first? Is it clear? So how do we come out with our inferences? We have to decode them. Do you understand what do we mean by decode? You have to try to find them out, you have to decode them, you have to decipher them, or you have to derive them, probably I could say, to put it in easier words. So derive them on the basis of your understanding of the passage. आपने पैसेज को पढ़ा, आपने पैसेज को समझा, उसके बेसिस पे आप क्या डिराइव कर पाते हो, वट एवर इन्फ्रेंसेज यू आर एबल टू डिराइव इज वॉट यू विल बी गेटिंग क्वेश्चंस ऑन. Right? So everything depends on the basis of your understanding, your grasp, your hold on the passage. Is that clear to all of you? So these inferences are hidden, and we have to find them, we have to decode them, we have to decipher them on the basis of your understanding. So they are more or less hidden. Now you might still be confused कि मैम आप क्या बोल रहे हो, मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा. Give me an example. Now I'm going to give you an example. Like what does an inference based question look like? So for example, let me just put it down here. I'll give you an example of an inference based question. So, for example, the question is, what is the approach of the author? And there are four options which have been given to you. The very first option is laudatory. Second option is pragmatic. Third option is critical. Fourth option is dogmatic. Now, you have four options here with you, and what you are doing over here is what you're trying to look at here is that you have a question at hand, and this question is now they have asked you what is the approach of the author. So, the approach of the author is nowhere. If you even if you read the question first and you go back to the passage, you're not going to find the answer to the passage, right? So Mohit here has commented, unable to see the screen. Could you increase picture quality, dear? This is the best that I had to offer. I think it is quite visible. I mean, the link is open right now. I can see the link, and it's quite much legible. One can read. So if you will open it in a full screen mode, maybe it'll be a bit better. So coming back to the question, so even if we read the question first, what is the approach of the author? So approach of the author we can't really tell until and unless we have read the entire passage. So and I cannot even go back to the passage and just look at a part of it and go about answering whether the approach will be this or that or this or that. It has to be the entire passage altogether. So until unless I've read the entire passage, I will not be able to mark the correct answer. Is that clear to all of you? So while we go about the passages, so this is making it very clear for us that first what we need to do, we need to read the passage, and only then we will go about the questions. This is exactly what I was trying to tell you. This is what skimming means. In skimming as a technique, we want you guys to be able to read the passage first. We want you to quickly skim through the passage, quickly give it a read, and go about marking the correct answers without having to come back to the passage to mark the correct answer. So for example, आपने एक बार passage पढ़ लिया, उसका central idea grasp कर लिया, you have understood what it is talking about, what is the purpose of the author, what is the central theme of the passage. Once you have grasped it all, you really don't need to come back to the passage to mark the correct answers. Is that clear to all of you? Because eventually all the questions are what? All the questions are inference based. Now you guys would remember there is a very good saying or an idiomatic expression, as one might say, for cat passages, that whenever you are attempting the cat passages, do not just read the lines, you should read between the lines. Now why do we say that you should read between the lines? Because we are expecting you to, now what will you find between the lines? You're not going to find a ghost, you're not going to find let's say a snack, you're going to find your inferences. So your inferences are implied, they are not explicitly stated but they are implied. So you have to decode them, you have to read between the lines, you have to get under the skin of the author and try to think from author's perspective. Why has he mentioned this, or why has he mentioned that? And then go about marking the correct answers. I hope it is clear to all of you. You might be wondering कि मैम ने ये बताने से पहले कि करना क्या है, ये क्यों बताया कि क्या नहीं करना. So I want to correct you guys from the very beginning that stop reading the questions first and then go about the passage. Rather look at the passage first, try to understand it, take your own sweet time initially, but on the examination I would always want that you guys are able to read the passage at a faster pace. Do not worry about the pace, because speed is something that we will any which ways work on while going about the classes. Also remember guys, reading comprehension is not like a grammar topic. Okay, grammar में क्या होता है? For example, like for example tomorrow in grammar I'm taking this class on parts of speech. सो कल जब आप ये वाली क्लास अटेंड करोगे, उसके बाद आपका पार्ट्स ऑफ स्पीच हमेशा के लिए खत्म हो जाएगा. Sorry. So you don't have to attend a lecture or content for parts of speech again. So your entire topic will be covered in one class itself. But when it comes down to reading comprehension, it takes a bit more time, because reading comprehension has so many components inside it, which will take a bit of time, and then you have to go about it one by one to eventually develop your pace at it, right? I hope it is clear now why the paper was becoming time consuming and why exactly it is not time consuming, and it will completely be, easily you can target it within time limits if you apply the technique of skimming. Now, coming back to the second problem that usually students face, which is underlining. Now, I hope you guys are already clear with the fact that how underlining is really not important, because any which ways no question is going to turn up on the examination from any particular part of the passage. The questions are eventually going to turn up from the outlook of the entire passage. So we have to apply skimming, where we are looking at the passage as a whole and only then going about the questions, right? So, until unless you have read the passage clearly, until unless you have developed a deeper level of understanding of the passage, you won't be able to get to the correct answer. So, underlining any which ways is not going to help you guys anymore. Yes, I agree to a certain extent. Interest does play a role. Why? Now, while we are going about the passages, see, I understand some of you might be here from commerce field, some of you might be here from science field, some of you might be here from arts and humanities field. So, you might or might not find an interest in the passages which turn up on the examination. Just give me a minute. So, for example, the passages that turn up on the examination can come from any topic. Just like we discussed a while ago, the passages can come from literature, they can come from psychology, philosophy, political philosophy, arts, or history, anything. So we have to be prepared with all these areas. We have to work on all these areas. We have to acquaint ourselves with such areas. And this is what we'll be doing in these lectures. Not only will we be looking at types of questions which will come on the examination, types of passages which come on the examination, we'll also be looking at various topics which turn up on the examination, and slowly will I try to acquaint you guys with such topics. I will talk about it in a bit detail once we go ahead with it. I hope it is clear now, how the basics are clear, how we guys are supposed to move with the RC passages. How the very first thing that we need to know about it is that we have to read the passage first, only then we go about the questions. We have to ensure that we decode and decipher the inferences before we move on to the questions. And while answering the questions, we might not have to come back to the passage to save a good amount of time while answering the questions. Is that clear to all of you? Now let's move on. Okay, so just like I said, we do not use scanning, we use the skill of skimming, which means nothing but we are trying to give the passage a quick read while skimming through the main idea, the primary purpose, or call it the central idea or the thematic highlight. Everything, every one of these words mean the same. So we apply the technique of skimming. Why? Because eventually there are inference based questions, and inferences are what? They are nothing but they are hidden. So more or less what we are doing is we are reading between the lines. We just discussed this, how we are reading between the lines in order to find our inferences and thereby apply them while answering the questions. And how do we decipher our inferences? We have to decode them out of the text by reading between the lines. I hope all of you are clear exactly what is the strategy or the planning or what we are going to apply while going about the questions. Now, I will discuss a bit in detail about what all we'll be doing in this course of, a capsule course of reading comprehension. Now, not only will we be solving the passages, of course, we'll be solving a good amount of passages, but along with the passage solving part comes a greater, priority, which is to work on the weaker areas, work on certain areas in order to be better at the passages, right? So, what can we do? We can, number one, we'll be working on various types of questions. So when you're going about the examination, you will see that there are different types of questions which turn up on the CAD examination. And what we will be doing is we'll try to work on them in a manner where we are able to look at each and every question type. We will individually see which question type demands what level of understanding and what is required from you guys when it comes to a particular question type. So we'll be discussing that a bit in detail today also. So they, like, just like I said, it's a new information for you today itself, that there are going to be inference based questions. Now these inference based questions are also divided into subcategories, and all of these categories have different techniques or tricks or probably do's or don'ts to be applied before going about the questions. Is that clear to all of you? So, by looking at this one class of various types of questions, you will be able to identify that how to identify the question type when you get it on the examination. Also, you will be systematically able to approach that question by applying the strategy that you would have learned in the class. You will also be able to eliminate any such answer choices which are listed as the option traps. So for example, when I tell you that there are any further application type questions, so there are a few option traps, like these are the kind of options that you need to stay away from. So you will definitely try to stay away from such options and eliminate them while going about the questions. Now, for example, we'll be taking up a class on various types of passages. Now, various types of passages, as in there are different types. For example, there are social sciences type passages, there are arts and history type passages, there are literature type passages. I'll give you a basic idea once again, and we'll see how the topic of the passage or the type, understanding the type of the passage, is going to help you and acclimatize you guys to a great extent with how the passages are on the examination, and how we are supposed to make sure that we streamline our preparation in accordance with it. Now we'll be working on a few speed reading techniques. Now, what do we mean by speed reading? Now, speed reading helps you to read the passages at a faster pace. Now, all of you are aware you get like 5 passages on the examination. These can be either 6 question type passages or 3 question type passages. Now, and you could have to read between 650 to 800 words for these passages. Now, reading 5 passages of 800 words will become very tricky for you until and unless you know a good amount of speed reading techniques. So, speed reading techniques will help you to read the same passage. For example, I just taught you one technique of skimming. So, this will help you to read the same passage at a faster pace without leaving out on any important details or important areas of the passage, which will otherwise help you to gather information or mark the correct answer. So speed reading not only just helps you to mark to read the passage quickly, but it also helps you to more or less mark the correct answers and be accurate on the examination. Now we'll be working on mind mapping techniques. Now, what do we mean by mind mapping techniques? Mind mapping techniques will help you to, strategize your passage reading. So, mind mapping is, for example, you will be able to map the passage the moment you are reading it. For example, sometimes the passages are very lengthy, and once you read the first passage and then you come down to the second one, by the time you are near your third paragraph, you are like, ma'am, what was there in the first passage paragraph? I've completely forgotten. Now, what we do is we prepare a kind of a mind map which will help you guys to remember how the exact flow of the passage went through, how the author started with introducing this or that, and then he moved on to the negations, and then he moved on to give me some explanations and justification, and then he gave an example of this. So by preparing a mind map like a flow chart, or by being able to identify at least the basic nitty-gritties of the passage, it becomes makes it very easy for the students to go about the questions without having to come back to the passage again. Now, we'll also be working on tones of the passages when we will discuss various types of questions on the exam pertaining to passages. You will see how tones play a major role. So, for example, until unless you know the tone of a particular meaning of a particular word, of a particular tone, you won't be able to mark the correct answer. Most of the students face a lot of problem when it comes down to tones of the passages. And why is that so? Not because they are not able to identify the tone of the passage, but because they are not aware of the words which are used as tones on the examination. So, for example, coming back to this question that I had given you guys here. So, if you guys had to tell me the meaning, can anyone tell me the meaning of these words which we have used here? The four words that I used, for example, laudatory, pragmatic, critical, dogmatic. When you get such words, or when you get such tones on the questions, trust me guys, until unless you know the meaning of a particular word, you won't be able to mark the correct answer. That is the reason why in today's class of grammar, earlier in the day, I was telling students how you might feel that there are no such outright vocabulary questions which are asked in the examination, but eventually you will be answering a good deal of questions pertaining to vocabulary as well. So, for example, I'll give you a basic idea, guys. Now, what do we mean by, just give me a second. Now, what do we mean by laudatory? Laudatory is nothing but it's a praising tone. When you are praising somebody, admiring somebody, speaking highly of somebody, you're lauding the person. So, for example, we say that this or that activity was laudable. Laudable meaning that it was appreciable or admirable or something like that. So, praising is the meaning. Pragmatic over here means when you have a practical approach on things. So, practical approach meaning when you try to accept things as they come, and looking at facts more than subjective issues. So, that is practical thinking. Critical, I hope all of you are aware. What do we mean by critical? That you are criticizing, or you are critical of a particular, you are critiquing a particular thing altogether. And dogmatic means carrying a stubborn outlook, or being very rigid about your own beliefs. Right? So when you're being stubborn or rigid, and you do not feel like you're going to move from your own representation, so that's when we call it dogmatic, right? So these are a few examples of those tones which I was trying to talk about. So until unless you are aware of the meaning of these tones, I work with my students in a manner where I give them their tones in categories. So with the help of the categories, you are easily able to remember good amount of tones which you otherwise might or might not. Now, other than the tones of the passage, we take a few classes on eclectic reading. Now, eclectic reading has a lot to do with vocabulary again. So, vocabulary has, vocabulary helps you a lot when it comes down to passages. You need vocabulary when you're going about the passages. So your vocabulary pertaining to the passages, so that you are able to understand words when it comes down to various passages that you might or might not have heard of before. So these words will not only help you to solve vocab questions on non-CAT examinations, but also help you to solve passages on the CAT examination, right? So that's how it is. That's what we do in eclectic reading. So, coming to the strategies and passages now, strategies will help you in a manner. So, strategizing, for example, picking out the easier passages first and then moving on to the higher one. So, we'll be working on our passages in the end in a manner where we'll be looking at LOD 1, LOD 2, and LOD 3. LOD being the level of difficulty. So, level of difficulty varies. None of the passages on the examination is going to carry a similar level of difficulty. So, there will be questions from probably, easy and high level of difficulty at the same time. And then there will be moderate difficult passage questions and easy questions in a particular passage. So, what we are aiming at is being able to solve all the level of difficulties, all the levels of difficulty, so that it becomes easier for us to score better on the examination. Now, just like I said a while ago, that we'll be taking up classes in on types of passages. So these are a few types of passages that I've listed here. For example, there are going to be literature, or there is going to be business and economy, science and technology, arts, philosophy, political philosophy, psychology, and history type passages on the examination. So what we are trying to do is, one by one, we'll take them up as different classes, and in these different classes you will see how we will acquaint you with certain terminology, so that you guys are developing, you are able to see what all terms, or what all alien ideas can term up, can come up in terms of literature, in terms of business and economy, in terms of science and technology, in terms of philosophy, psychology. So once you will work on this terminology, and you will get a basic background. So I'll be giving you a basic background on these types of passages, where you will be able to learn a bit about this particular topic, and then go about passages which have already appeared on the CAT examination pertaining to this particular topic, so that it becomes easier for you to go ahead with it when it comes on the actual CAT examination or other non-CAT exams as well, so that you are aware. So for example, if I give you guys a psychology passage right away, you might or might not be able to solve it effectively, efficiently. But if I give you a basic idea of a bit of background about psychology, how, who is the father of psychology, who has come up with psychoanalytical theories, a few terms that you might acquaint with while you're going about the passages. So after looking at these terms, at least you guys will be able to appear at the passages better. Also, I will be solving these passages along with you guys, so that it becomes easier for you to do it on the examination. So after a very rigorous class on literature, business economy, science, technology, philosophy, so I'll give you one small example. Let's say there was a passage on Walmart, how Walmart is able to maintain. So there is, this is very shocking for everybody, this is given in the passage, how Walmart is able to maintain such good quality of the product, whereas the price is also low. So usually what we see is, when the price goes down, the quality of the product suffers, and when the price goes up, the quality is usually a bit better. But when we look at the case of Walmart, researchers were very shocked that how the price, with most of the things being under $10 and things like that, you find almost everything and a cheaper version of everything on Walmart. So how the price goes down, and yet the quality is maintained very well. So how do they do that? So for example, they got to know that there is a marketing strategy that they follow. They do in-house production, so they do not take it from other buyers. They do in-house production, so it becomes easier for them to devise prices in that manner. Also, they apply this strategy of economies of scale. Anyone who could tell me what do we mean by economies of scale? What do we mean by economies of scale? For those who would have studied it would know. And just like I said, for those who might not know anything about business and economy, might not be able to answer this. I'll give you some seconds to think. Excuse me. Really sorry about that, guys. Okay, so I hope you guys have guessed up till now. So coming to this, what do we mean by economies of scale? Economies of scale are nothing but when you are going about mass production, when you go about mass production. So when you're producing in bulk, what happens is your cost price is pretty low because you're purchasing your raw material in bulk, and you, even if you keep your selling price high, then also there is a very big difference between the cost price. Even if you keep, sorry, if you, even if you keep your selling price very low, there will be a big difference between the cost price and the selling price. So the rate at which others are giving that particular product and the rate at which you guys are giving that product would be a big difference. So there would be a big profit or there will be lucrative gains that you are looking at. So now this particular word was used in the paragraph without explaining that what it means and what ideology is applied, and then there would be a question how according to the author, how did the strategy of economies of scale provide gains in terms of Walmart. Now, it has not been explained in the paragraph, and you don't know what do we mean by economies of scale. It will become very difficult for you to mark the correct answer. Yes or no? So that is the reason why we help the students with a bit of terminology, a bit of background, so that you guys can, understand things better, and you can probably go about being a bit more aware or cognizant when you're going about the passages, right? All right. Now, coming down to types of questions that are there on the examination, just like a while ago, I told you guys that there would be a good amount of classes on types of questions too. So, there are different types of questions which are there on the examination. Just like I said, on the CAT exam, majorly what we acquaint ourselves with are the inference based questions. But these inference based questions are also divided into various categories. So, what are these categories? For example, there are main idea type questions, specific detail type questions, implied idea questions, tone based questions, grammar questions, vocab questions, logic based questions, further application type questions, and structure based questions. So these different types of questions have different tricks and techniques involved. Also, when I say main idea type question, it does not just mean a question which is asking the main idea of the passage. Now, if there is a question on primary purpose of the passage, or they ask you what is the central theme or central idea, or what is the thematic highlight Or probably they ask you what is the title of the passage, or main idea of the passage, or gist of the passage. Now, any of these above mentioned six questions, which I have written over here, will come up on the examination pertaining to any passage. They are what? They are your main idea type questions. So don't feel that this is one question type that I've mentioned. For example, specific detail question पूछ रहा है, तो there will be many question types which will come on the examination. So first we will acquaint you with these different question types, then we'll give you a few tricks and techniques. For example, if you have to solve main idea type questions, what should be the tricks that you should apply? If you have to solve further application type questions, what should be the techniques you should apply? If you are solving for cap type questions, what should be the technique that you are supposed to apply? And for example, we will also teach you what are various option traps. Now, what do we mean by option traps, guys? Any idea? What are option traps? Option traps are the options which are supposed to be eliminated. These are the incorrect options. They are there to, they're there to trap you guys, are there to confuse you guys, so that you end up marking the incorrect answers. So these option traps will definitely help you to try to, work it in a manner. By studying these option traps, you will be able to mark the correct answer without getting confused, without marking or considering any of the option traps as the correct answer, right? So let's see now overall what all we need to remember, or what all we need to think about before going about the examination or pertaining to reading comprehension. So we need to remember that we will need to work on the good vocabulary. We really need to develop vocab in a manner, for example, with the help of eclectic reading, and by reading a good amount of passages can we go about developing a good vocabulary. We should be able to draw inferences, just like I said. Until and unless you guys are able to understand the passage in a deeper level altogether, if you have a deeper level of understanding of the passage, only then will you be able to go about the passages actually exactly how they are expected to be. So until unless you have this ability to draw inferences out of the text which has been given to you, you won't be able to make it, guys. You won't be able to get good accurate answers. Until unless you guys are able to identify the tone and purpose of the passage or the question, you won't be able to get through with it. This is what we guys do on the mind mapping part. So while we are mind mapping, we are making the map, we are only devising what is the tone, what is the main idea, what is the primary purpose, why the author has gone about writing the passage in the first place. Okay, so I can see a question here from Mohit. Mohit is asking, ma'am, are you going to, so your message has been retracted. So it asks something, take classes on some particular exam. I could not read that, dear. So coming back to the questions here, the pointers that you need to keep in mind. So mind map is going to help you to stick to what you have read on the passage. For example, stick to the ideas that have been mentioned in the passage. It will help you to remember what was being talked about, how the author has developed his flow, how the author has developed the structure of the passage. Also, keep in mind the important things before going about the entire part. Also, you will be able to find out how many passages are there in the exam and how much time you can spend on each of them. So, this is a small strategy session we'll be doing on this. so which will help you to, streamline your passages. For example, if you ask me, guys, whenever I go for the CAT exam or any other exam, I never solve the passages from top to bottom. I always select my passages. I mean, first which passage I'm attempting, and then when I will attempt the second passage, and what will I do for the third one. This is how your entire preparation strategy is about. And then you should be able to make connections, you should be able to visualize these connections, synthesize these connections, and determine the importance of these connections, and also make inferences while answering comprehension based questions. So comprehension based questions are not simple reading comprehensions. They require, just like I said, a lot of inference digging out, and a lot of hard work goes on into understanding of a passage and then marking of a correct answer. All right, now we will practice a few passages. This is a very healthy passage, guys. So I know I haven't taught you any of the techniques that we are about to go for in this particular course. So this course also, guys, which I am hoping to conduct. So this is the first class of this course. This course is about a capsule course on RC, CAT, RC. So, guys, this particular course will have many lectures, with the lectures going up till 17th of Jan and probably more. So, it's a very demanding course, and it will definitely help you to properly prepare yourself for reading comprehension. So, we have already started with the course. So, from 16th of December, this is your first class. Tomorrow you don't have a class, and on 18th of December you have your next class. So I'll see you guys on 18th. Before we move on with that, now we will practice a few passages. So I want you guys to be able to read this passage in 3 minutes and answer the questions in 1 minute. Let's make it +2 and +2, because this is the first passage that you are attempting, guys. So I'll give you about, let's say, 5 minutes to read the passage. Your time starts now. While reading, remember, you just have to skim through the passage and nothing more than that. There's a bit more to the passage. I'll take you there about in a minute's time. All right, let's get the last part of the passage. You have 1.5 minutes to finish it. All right, let's look at the questions. Now, the very first question here asks us to, okay, I'll give you some time to try these questions first and then go ahead with go ahead with answering them. You have like 3 minutes, guys, and then we'll discuss. Good evening, Apurv. Joined a bit late, I can see that. So we have just presented a passage, and you guys are supposed to answer the questions. We'll quickly discuss the answers of this particular passage now. So let's start with it. It says arrange the following events in the correct chronological sequence, starting with the earliest event as they occur in the story. Now, if you guys will see, if you guys have read the passage, you would be able to understand that how the entire events went about. Without even going back to the passage, we can easily go about it. So, what should be the order here? Any idea? So, what should be the order? I think the very first thing would be that Sue and Johnsy start their studio, and then Mr. Pneumonia visits Johnsy, and after that, it would be the doctor warns Sue that Johnsy doesn't have many days to live, and then comes how John C. laments that there are only 5 leaves left, and then comes the fact that Sue asks John C. not to count the leaves, right? Now, we'll discuss which of the following information which are given here in the paragraph are true or false. So, for example, the very first one here says Sue and John C. are best friends. Can I say this? Is it true or not? So if we come back to the paragraph here to just make sure you guys are clear with it, it says how Sue and Johnsy had their studio and this and that they had met, but nowhere is it written that they were best friends. So it's just mentioned how they are very good friends, they're friends, but nowhere is it mentioned that how they are best friends or not, right? So that's all one can say. So we can't really say it cannot be determined here. And coming to the next one, it says John C. hates wine. If I'll come back to this part, can we say that John C. hates wine? Anyone who would like to answer? Apur, would you like to answer? So this is true. We can see it in the passage that how this information given is true. Next one says how the doctor is pessimistic about Johnson's chances of survival. So that's wrong because that's correct because how this is given quite clearly in the passage that how doctor is pessimistic. He says, yes, Ryan, you have something to say. The screen is not clear. Okay. What do we do about it? So I'll read out the question in order to help you guys solve the questions. It says the doctor is pessimistic about John C's chances of survival. So what do we do over here? Now that we also discussed it over here in the flow of the argument that yes, the doctor is pessimistic about John C's chances of survival. So we'll mark this as true. The fourth one states Sue was from California and John C was from Maine. Now this again cannot be determined. Why? Because it is not quite clearly given. If we'll come back to the very first paragraph, it says one was from Maine and the other from California, but it's not clearly given which one was from Maine and the other one was from California. Ryan, what I'll do is I will check this before the next class where how we can try to make sure that the screen is clear. right? So I'm reading out the question so that you guys can answer it, all right, along with me. So it's just written how one was from Maine and the other one was from California. We can't really say which one was from Maine and which one was from California, so cannot be determined. And Sue and John C started their studio as a shared many common interests. We can't really say many common interests. We know that they had a common interest of art, so we really can't say this as well. So this is false, really. So, coming down to the next question, it says, what is the central idea of the passage and what is the tone? Now, central idea of the passage was that Johnsy had more or less associated her life with that of the falling of leaves, and the tone of the passage over here is narrative. Now, why is it narrative? Because it's in a storytelling format. I hope all of you were able to see that. And what will happen next in the story? Can anyone tell me that? So, next in the story, what will happen is, because there aren't many leaves left, and this is a story taken from O. Henry's The Last Leaf. So, I can tell you the ending. What happens is, um, John C. Ends up, going about painting certain leaves and sticking them on the tree so that Sue doesn't feel depressed altogether and ends up continuing to live. Now we'll go about one more passage. You guys have some time to read it. Guys, please read the passage. You have 1 more minute to read the passage and then we'll look at the questions. All right, I hope you guys have read the passage. So, in this passage, we more or less read about a particular book called Maltese Falcon, and in Maltese Falcon, we have discussed the plot and this, main character here who is Sam Spade, and the author is describing more and more about Sam Spade, what kind of an, character he was, and what. He how he reacted when he found out that his partner was murdered, and how what kind of a rogue character is shown over here. So this is what is being shown in the paragraph in the passage, and what we are doing now is we have had to just get a basic idea of the passage to just make sure that we were able to go ahead with the questions. Now I'll give you guys a bit of time to solve these two questions and then we'll discuss. All right, let's discuss. You can solve this question too, and then we'll discuss this. So now what we are doing is we are trying to solve this one question. It says state whether the following sentences are true or false according to the passage. So it says the plot of the movie Maltese Falcon is not its main attraction. So, is it true or not? Anyone who would like to talk about it? So, I think it's given over here and it's given over here as well. So, it says that to describe the plot in a linear and logical fashion is almost impossible. That doesn't matter. Movie is essentially a series of conversations punctuated by brief, violent interludes. It's all style. So, style is the main attraction. It's not supposed to be the plot, right? So over here again they had talked about how Hamlet's version is being talked about and nothing else about the plot here, right? So majorly it was here. So yes, this is true. The plot is not the main attraction. What is the main attraction is the characters, the style of the of the entire book and other things. And it's written over here that how the plot is the last thing you think of. So it's the last thing, meaning that it is not the main attraction for sure. Bogart, who plays Sam Spade, was a cold and ruthless man. Now we can't comment on Bogart. All we can say is Sam Spade was a cold and ruthless man, but we can't say the same for Bogart. So this should be false. Second, third, it says that Maltese Falcon broke some conventional mode of filmmaking. I think yes, that is true, because it was given here that how there was no happy ending. So the entire book was not about a happy ending, how other books were about at that particular point in time, but it was more about to show the the original version more clearly, and showing uh, the entire story about the character and things like that, right? So fourth says people find some vulnerability in Spade's hardened demeanor. Can we say that? Not really. That's not quite clearly shown in the passage. And fifth says John Huston managed to convince Warner Bros. To let the movie break away with the tradition of happy ending. And over here, if we'll come back to this part, it's quite clearly written over here. Even though it had been filmed twice before, they were such wretched pictures. Huston told his biographer he saw Hammett's version more clearly, and yes, he was able to convince them. That is true. So it is true over here. Next question. It says, with which of the following the author of the passage would most agree with? It is impossible to portray a movie in linear and logical fashion. That's quite correct, probably, because over here it says no, that to describe a plot in a linear and logical fashion is almost impossible, but then it says it is impossible, so we can't really say that. The Warner Bros. Studios knew that Maltese Falcon was about the character and not the story. That is again incorrect, because Houston knew that, not Warner Bros. Hammett wanted his readers to view Spade as a maverick character. That is quite true. That is what he wanted. And Maltese Falcon earned huge profits for its makers. We can't really comment on that as well. So, this is the only thing that we can be sure of. Now, which of the following best describes the style of the author in the passage? Is it argumentative? Is it analytical, critical, or expository? So, the answer would be analytical, because the author is trying to analyze the writing style of Houston and what he thought, and why did he break away with the conventional story writing, and how he managed to portray a story which was a hit, and at the same time making it a beautiful one, and attracted many people too. So this had to be analytical, nothing argumentative about it, nothing too critical as well. And we are not criticizing Maltese Falcon, and it is not even exposing any such details. So that's all of it. Now, this was just a sample passage that we have done today, guys. Please do not expect cat passages to look similar, because cat passages are a bit tougher and you will learn more and more in the coming classes. So on 18th, you will have a class with me which would be on types of questions. So that class will be very informative. You will get to learn about what all types of questions are there and how we'll be targeting these type of questions. Along with that, we'll also see what are the various tricks and techniques to apply, and we'll be solving a few passages for sure. So again, I would like to remind you guys, do not forget to purchase your Unacademy per subscription. Not only will you be offered the live classes, unlimited live classes, you also get to interact with the educators right there and then. There are live polls and leaderboard also offered. So there are test series and analysis, proper drill down analysis given, where you can see where you are going right and what are your weaker areas, so that you can work on them as well. Without piling on to your doubts, you can definitely get them cleared in time with the help of an Unacademy subscription. So you guys can use my referral code, which is Nitika 10, which is NITIKA 10, and you have all these subscription plans available for cat subscription, which will make it all the more easier for you to access our classes, plus courses and special classes on the plus platform. So the two courses that I'm running right now, just like I said, were one capsule course on cat rc, which is 6:30 to 8 p.m. Today was the first class, and there's another class that I'm running, another course that I'm running, which is a capsule course on cat grammar, which is again a beautiful course. We have a class tomorrow. Do not forget to join that. It's from 1 to 2:30 p.m. So that's all for the day, guys. And I really hope you enjoyed today's lecture and you guys ended up learning something new. And please continue the learning. I hope you guys are able to track your preparation in accordance with what is expected out of you now. And along with it, I hope you guys will remember all the things that we have discussed today. I'm a bit sorry for the screen not being quite visible. I will definitely check that before the next class. So I really hope you guys learned something new today, and keep logging in, keep joining in for the classes. Make sure you do purchase the Unacademy subscription so that you guys are easily able to look at our classes without any hassle, without having to search for it, and you will be provided with n number of courses on the same particular platform for all the CAT examining other management examinations as well. That's all for the day.